Did you know that walking 8,000 steps a day or more can reduce your overall mortality rate? In other words, risk of dying by almost 50%. And also, if you bump that up to almost 10,000 steps a day, there are studies that show you will reduce your risk of dementia by 50%. That's a good amount. So I'm out here walking. My name is Julie, and I'm a regular person, woman in my 50s. I have to pay attention to where I'm walking. And I want to share my experience with other women who are in midlife and let you know that the struggle is real. And today, I want to talk about walking. So it's really easy to come up with excuses for not walking, but still, the fact remains that the people who are over 50 are not walking enough. And it's really one of the simplest things you can do, and it's the cheapest by far, to help your health in so many ways. What are some of the excuses? Don't have enough time, don't have anywhere to walk, don't have any place safe to walk. Valid reasons. You can find a way to work around it. Or, oh, my joints hurt. Or maybe I don't have the right shoes, or I'm lonely, I don't have anybody to walk with. So, y'all can tell it's cold. If I sound funny, it's because my lips are kind of frozen. So anyway, well, let's talk about this first. The good thing about walking is you can do it almost anywhere. If you have a fairly safe neighborhood, you can walk. Make sure you're in a well-lit area. I always carry pepper spray with me, always. If I had a dog, I would walk the dog, and that's another way. But you just want to be aware of your surroundings and always looking, watching for things that seem out of the ordinary. Vary your route. But your neighborhood is an obvious choice, as is your neighborhood park, which I am on my way to right now. I change it up so that I'm not too predictable. But you have your neighborhood, you have your neighborhood park. If you don't want to be outside, treadmill is good. If you have access to one in your home, there's some very inexpensive walking pads even, not even as elaborate as a treadmill. These are just things that when you walk on them, you're manually pushing the belt around, and you're kind of propelling yourself forward. So you can get those for under $300. I'm fortunate to have a very old used treadmill in our home gym. It's pretty old, but it doesn't matter. It's something that I can do when I can't get outside or don't want to get outside. Like right now, it's a little warmer in Texas than it's been the last week, thank goodness. So I am out to get some sun, even though it's still only in the low 50s. But I just bundle up and I get out. But I do have my treadmill that I can hop on if I want to when I get back to the house. And I'm trying to get to those 8,000 to 10,000 steps. So another thing, if you have access to a gym, YMCA, if you want to keep it really inexpensive, you can always go to Planet Fitness or something like that. Only 10 to 15 a month. Other things are going to be a bit more expensive, of course. But it's up to you how you prioritize it. Personally, it's worth it to me to get the activity in, whatever means necessary. We'll talk about the benefits of walking here in a minute. Lastly, if you don't want to go outside, you don't have a walking pad, you don't have a treadmill, you can always march in place. So there are ways to get your workout in, get your walk in inside just by marching in place. And sometimes that's a good way to start anyway, because you're just not sure how your body's going to react, not sure if your joints are going to be bothering you, which is the next thing I want to talk about. A lot of people don't want to move because other things are sore. And I will tell you, I've always been very active, but when I entered perimenopause, one of my symptoms was my joints started hurting, like a lot, especially in my hips and my knees. And I could not for the life of me figure out why, because I was still being active and doing things. And for me, it was just due to a drop in my estrogen levels. And once I got on HRT, that's one of the things that immediately improved. So we can talk about that in another video. But you need to lubricate your joints. Unless you have an injury, if you're stiff, you're only going to get more stiff by not moving. It's just a fact. So activity breeds activity. you will feel more like moving once you start moving. But it's kind of a vicious cycle in the beginning because you don't feel like moving, and so you don't. But that's definitely something you need to do. Okay, we are now at my neighborhood park. I had to pause so I could cross the street safely. Always do that, always. Anyway, so I was talking about being stiff if you don't move. And so if you don't use your muscles, they're going to atrophy. You definitely want to get some weight on your skeleton. You want some load, and walking is one of the ways to do that. So you don't want to use the excuse if you're too stiff. If you're too tired, that's also not a good excuse because it will actually give you energy to walk. And you know what? You don't have to start with much. Just start with 10 to 15 minutes. They've also done studies that show that it's just as effective to break a 60-minute walk up into, say, 6-10-minute segments as it is to go 60 minutes all at once. So that's kind of a big deal because I don't know about y'all, but when I'm busy during the day, sometimes it's hard to get 60 minutes in uninterrupted. So break it up if you have to. But now that we've talked about some of those common objections and excuses, problems that you have to overcome to get your walking in, let's talk about the benefits of walking. So, as I mentioned, numerous studies showing that walking, especially 8,000 steps a day or so, can dramatically reduce your risk of dying for a variety of health reasons. Now, obviously, this is things related to your health. And I don't know about you, but that's what I want. I want to minimize my risk however possible, take care of myself. And also there's so much mental disorders in this world. There's Alzheimer's, there's dementia, things like that. And you can reduce that risk by 50% if you walk 10,000 steps or more most days. Now, we won't even get into the other stuff that leads to that. And I'm not trying to be a scientist or anything. I'm just telling you from a walking standpoint, there's really nothing you can do that's better than just getting out and going for a walk. So if that doesn't convince you, I am not sure what will, because that's enough reason for me, because I want to be alert and enjoy my life and be here for my kids and grandkids as long as humanly possible. So there's that. So let's talk about the benefits of walking. Other than controlling your weight. That's the big one, because activity gets your body moving and it's going to stoke the fire, right? Actually, it's also shown to help regulate blood sugar, insulin levels. If you get out and walk right after you eat, that is one of the best ways to control that blood sugar level. So I highly recommend taking a stroll or walk after a big meal particularly, but especially at night, you're getting ready to go to bed, you want to, I don't want to say burn off the calories, but you know what I mean. You want to help mitigate anything you've eaten that may not be the best for you. So you definitely want to do that. So it's going to help you control your weight to have the activity every day. And with the hormones and the whole situation being perimenopause or menopausal, and you are losing your estrogen, or you don't have that advantage anymore of being young, childbearing age, your body needs as much help as it can get. And so by doing this, you're going to give it the best chance of regulating that blood sugar and keeping that weight under control. The other thing is you're going to improve your mobility, because just naturally we lose flexibility as we age, right? We just do. And if you don't stretch, you're going to have a hard time getting the back. So walking's not stretching, but you should stretch after. After you walk, you should stretch. But you're moving, mobility, using those joints, using these muscles. And you want to do that because it keeps you young, keeps you limber, right? You want to be able to get down on the floor with the grandkids and pick them up and go to the park and do all the things like that. Speaking of, here's the kiddos playing at the park. If you don't stay active, there's less of a chance you're going to be able to do that. So the other thing is it's going to improve your cardiovascular health. That is your heart and lungs and how efficiently they work. Your heart and your lungs are muscles, and you want to work them, right? You have to work them just like any other muscle group. Do that by their pumping. The lungs are filling with air, things like that. And you get stronger the more you do it, and they can do a little bit more. Because like when you start out, you may be winded after 5 minutes. Well, do a little bit more the next time. Maybe you can go 10 minutes. Do 10 minutes a few times. Maybe you can go 15 minutes, or you can pick up the pace. Health is what we were just talking about. If you don't work a muscle, it cannot get stronger. So that applies to the heart and lungs. Cardiovascular disease, as most of you know, is one of the #1 killers of women in America. We are actually at higher risk, and as we age, and that drop in estrogen is a risk factor as well. So you want to be working your heart and your lungs, because that's also going to give you more endurance in your life and in day-to-day activity. So you want to be able to go longer at activities. You want to be able to go on a vacation and go on a walking tour and not get tired, right? You want to be able to play with the grandkids, maybe go for a bike ride, maybe go for a walk with them and not get tired. So there's another reason. So you want to be able to breathe okay, make those lungs strong too. Okay, so another benefit of walking is your state of mind, your mental health. It's actually proven that getting out in nature improves your mental state and your state of mind. If you can walk outside, even to get sun, wind, be amongst the trees, be among the greenery, that's ideal. It's just therapy. So here I am cold. I'm not as cold now that I've been walking for a few minutes. I'm cold, but I decided I would rather get some sun on my face. Here we go, right here. Get some sun on my face while I can after a week of being indoors, because it's been so cold here in Texas. I'd rather be a little cold and get outside and get that sun. So I would advise you to do that. Nature, you ever heard the expression back in the day? People would get upset and they'd go, just go for a walk. Just walk it off. Well, I think the reason for that is it gives the mind time to process too. You're only thinking mainly about one foot in front of the other, observing the wildlife, looking at the trees, looking at the flowers, things like that. So as you do that, you'll feel your heart rate, if you weren't exercising, will probably settle down a little bit, but you should start to feel a little bit more calm, a little bit more centered. So you have that peace of mind as well. Okay, another benefit of walking could be the social aspect of it. Can you find a walking buddy in your neighborhood? Can you find a walking club? You want to make friends. Another key to longevity and living long is shown that people who have healthy relationships tend to live long lives too. So why not combine the activity of walking with fellowship and get to know people? Highly recommend a walking buddy. At this time, I don't have one. That's okay. I'm out doing it anyway. But if I have somebody who wants to join, certainly will. Sometimes I'll meet people at different parks or different areas to walk so that we can walk together. And that's always worth it. Then it makes you feel good because you've had that bonding time with another human, right? And you get in your exercise at the same time. Let's talk a little bit about the weight control again. So did you know that the whole 10,000 steps apparently was a made-up number by somebody doing a marketing campaign? And that's not necessarily the magic number, but it is a good number. 8,000 is a good number, actually. So personally, I wear my Apple Watch. I was wearing a Fitbit. I wear my Apple Watch now, and I track my standing time, my sitting time, and my steps all day long. So a bad day for me is, say I've been real sedentary, I've been sitting at my desk, or I've had to be in meetings or something like that, and I only got in 3,000 steps. That's not really very much. So I will make an effort to hop on the treadmill or do a little walking before I go to bed, if possible, to improve that. Now, sometimes it's not possible, you know? You got to be forgiving to yourself. Sometimes you have a family situation. Sometimes you have a health crisis, whatever the case may be, and it's just not going to work. But you can do little things to get in some steps. For example, sounds cliche, but I'm telling you right now, it works. Park farther away It's a hassle, I know, but here's another advantage: less door dings. So I don't like door dings. I will park a little farther away to get in the steps and to minimize the door dings. The other thing is take the stairs instead of the elevator if possible. Now, I know you're thinking, oh, I have bad knees, whatever. Well, there's lots of reasons that could be the case. But if you can, maybe one extra flight, you know, whatever. I find for me, my knees are worse coming down than they are going up. So maybe you go up, but you take the elevator down. Depends on how you're feeling, but that's another way you can do it. Something else that they've shown to be effective is get some steps in throughout the day. So set an alarm on your phone or something like that every hour, 2 hours, hour ideally. Get up and walk for a couple of minutes. Get up and walk around the house briskly, go out and get the mail, whatever you can do to break up the monotony of just sitting. They've actually shown that long periods of just sedentary, lifestyles are pretty damaging to us. So break it up, get up and walk. It will clear your head, and then you'll be able to go back to work and really focus. So how about that too? Okay, and another advantage to walking is it will help your skeletal strength. As we get older, we are at a higher risk for osteoporosis. We lose our bone density as we age, and so you have to constantly be working to keep that in place. Walking is a weight-bearing exercise because you are hauling your own body around, right? You're doing that, and you weigh something, it makes your skeleton hold you up. And so one of the best things you can do, in addition to weights, of course, definitely want to be lifting weights. So another reason. So let's see, we've covered joints, we've covered weight, we've covered your skeleton, and sleep. Let's talk about sleep. Definitely going to be able to sleep better after a good walk. I can tell you this from my own experience. When I don't move or exercise during the day as much as I normally do, I have a harder time going to sleep and sleeping soundly. So it helps me. I notice it if I don't get these steps in and I don't walk. So you're going to sleep a little better as you kind of, put the body through the paces and it's ready to rest. So the other thing is it's going to improve your cardiovascular health. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about me personally. So if y'all don't know me, I'm 56 currently and holding. I'm the mother of 3 children, 2 grown sons and 1 senior in high school. And I have been involved in health and wellness since about 2004. I've always loved, classes and things like that. I was going to an all-ladies fitness facility, and I love step classes. I love kickboxing classes, and I have a musical background too. So I guess it just worked naturally for me. The instructor was like, "Have you ever thought about teaching?" I was like, "Well, not fitness." She's like, "You should think about it." So I did, and the very first thing that I got certified in was our old school step. Still fun. Old school step is still fun. So because it's very dependent upon the music. And so love the 32 counts, rolled naturally for me. Then I went to kickboxing, and I've been doing it ever since. There were many years where I was full-time in fitness. I then went on to get my personal training certification, and I specialized in women. I did a lot of training one-on-one for women and a lot of small groups like boot camps. Now, this was when I was in my 30s or so, and I was real fit, easy peasy, because I worked out a lot and ate right to stay fit. After I had my 3rd son, and I started getting up there, particularly about 2 years ago, when I realized I was entering perimenopause, everything got way harder to maintain. And so I wasn't teaching as regularly. Life happens, I wasn't getting in those consistent workouts. And so I had to rely on activity level. Well, I wasn't walking real consistently at first. So I finally, one of the many things I did once I figured out I was in perimenopause, added more walking. And a lot of times I would walk in the morning, the afternoon, and I would go for 10,000 steps. I didn't always get there. I usually got to about 8, but that helped regulate my blood sugar, as I was mentioning. It also helped me feel better mentally, better about myself, getting outside. And I feel like that was one of the tools in my toolbox that really helped me start to get my weight under control. So I've had walking buddies before, and it just really helps pass the time. So right now I'm just kind of talking to you about that because I'm talking to you like you're my workout buddy. You can talk about all kinds of things, and your intensity level needs to be to where you can still carry on a conversation like I'm doing, but you wouldn't want to get to where you can't talk at all. Okay, so you want to be a little bit winded. You can tell that I'm working probably, right? But I can still talk to you. So that's kind of the level you want to be at. It's different to run or jog. That's not what we're talking about today. You don't want to get so intense that you can't have a light conversation with somebody. So stay in this zone to where you feel like you're exerting yourself a little bit, but not too much. And it makes it much more enjoyable and much more likely that you're going to stick with it. I have no idea how this video is going to turn out because it's all shaky. So I don't know if I can fix this to where it's not shaky the whole time. But anyway, that's what I did. And if I could have more walking buddies, I would. I think that it's going to be a part of my routine, whether I'm teaching classes, I'm lifting weights, whatever I'm doing. It's going to be something that I do for the rest of my life. I know people up into their 80s who are still walking 2 to 3 miles a day religiously. It's really important to them to get that in. And that's probably why they're up in their 80s and feeling pretty good. So I'm going to be one of those that also does that. I'm going to be the one that's getting in that 45 minutes to hour of activity every single day. And I hope that you do too. So I hope this has been helpful, talking about the benefits of walking. And I hope that it will inspire you to either get outside and start walking, hop on the treadmill or a walking pad, or just get those steps in front of the TV, in front of your favorite show. So I'll try to make more content around this. Probably next time I'll talk about my walking vest because I'm not wearing it today because I just wanted to be able to talk easily and not have my heart rate up too high. But I will. I'll come back to that. And please follow me for more tips and tricks and things about life over 50.